Assalamu alaikum. Truly, you are very hospitable people, and I accept your generosity. As a gift from me, from the land of Egypt, I have decided to reward you by telling you a great story. In a far-off land, a land named Persia, oh was it magnificent and ancient, there was a beautiful Queen Shahrazad, wife to the King Shahrar, King of Persia, the Just, the Great. She woke up one morning and looked out the window to see merchants going on to their days, working, slandering other merchants. Then King Shahrar woke up and told her to tell her the story that she was supposed to say last night. She said, wait till this night and I'll tell you the story. He said, okay. Then came the night, and Shahrar told him the story of the everlasting shoes. In Cairo lived an old miserly man named Abu Qasim. They said he was born with arms so short that they never went into his pockets. That is the way that he did not like to give. He did not like to give at all. His clothes were so old that he had pretty much patched them, and his trousers were filthy and cut everywhere. However, one significant thing about Abu Qasim was his shoes. Abu Qasim had worn the same shoes for 20 years. They were so torn and cut that he had to pretty much patch them up with leather, which made it really hard and awfully smelly. His shoes were the byword of all of Cairo. They would say that the soup is as thick as Abu Qasim's shoes. The steak smells as bad as Abu Qasim's shoes. And that joke is as old as Abu Qasim's shoes. One day Abu Qasim decided to go to a bathhouse to take his yearly bath. When he went in, he left his shoes outside. Then came a merchant, a very rich merchant, who came from a very far-off land. The merchant walked in and said, you shouldn't leave Abu Qasim's shoes outside, lest it will make the customers go away. The Turkish bathhouse cashier agreed, so he pushed away Abu Qasim's shoes. The merchant went in. When Abu Qasim walked out, he found the merchant's shoes. And it was leather, and it was beautiful. He said, by Allah, truly, he knew that I wanted new shoes, so I granted them to me. And he took the silken shoes and he went back home. Then came the merchant walking outside who did not find his shoes. However, he found Abu Qasim's dirty old shoes. He said, by Allah, I know how Abu Qasim makes his living. He steals other people's wealth. So he took his shoes and went to his house. Him and all his servants and camel drivers, they broke in and they beat him up. When the police came, Abu Qasim had to bribe them so that they wouldn't go to the court about it. The merchant left and gave him back his shoes. Abu Qasim, feeling very sad, decided to get rid of his shoes, for truly they were old and they had to get rid of. So he threw them outside. When he did throw them outside, it hit an old woman and she died. And the boy next to her screamed, murder! Murder! Came all the police. When the police came, they investigated to find Abu Qasim's old shoes. They went to Abu Qasim's house, took him to the court, and he had to pay a fine of 20,000 dinars. Of course, he was a miser, so that really hurt him. He went back home and decided to get rid of his shoes in another fashion. So he threw them down the Nile River, which ended up killing many fish. When a fisherman pulled out his shoes, he said, by God, this is Abu Qasim's shoes. He had killed all these fish. I shall teach that man a lesson. So he went all the way to his house, broke in and beat him up. And then he left. Abu Qasim, feeling yet again miserable, decided to get rid of his shoes in another fashion. So he dug on the ground and he had hidden his shoes. The neighbors, however, were all watching, thought that Abu Qasim was hiding treasure, because of course he was a miser and he always hid his treasure. So they went around digging up his gardens and destroying all his plants and potions. When Abu Qasim walked out, he had found people digging up his garden. They said, what are you doing? He said, we're trying to find the treasure you've hid. He said, I wasn't hiding any treasure. I was just trying to bury my shoe. And he had to pay each one a gold piece of dinar to make them all leave his garden. Abu Qasim, feeling very, very sad yet again, decided to get rid of his shoes in another way. He went down to a canal and he threw his shoes. The shoe went all the way to a mill and had pretty much destroyed the grinds. The millers who worked at the mill were very frustrated, and they went and they investigated. When they found out that it was Abu Qasim's shoes that had destroyed the mill, they went all the way to Abu Qasim's house, broke in, and they took him and they threw him in a mill pond until the police arrived. When the police arrived, they told them that Abu Qasim had destroyed his mill. So Abu Qasim had to pay for the money for the mill, which was a lot, and he also had to bribe the police officers not to take him to court once again. Abu Qasim had pretty much become insane, so he pulled up both of his shoes and he ran into the Egyptian court to the judge. And in a state of hysteria, he was waving his shoes all over, saying, "By Allah, these shoes have gotten nothing to me but deceit and malice. I shall no more wear them, and I shall live the rest of my life barefoot." So he threw his shoes in front of the judge and he ran outside barefoot. And the judge, I tell you, he fell out of his chair laughing. King Shahrar, who was tired of Shahrazad's story, said, "Okay, my beautiful Shahrazad, tomorrow you shall tell me another story, and inshallah it will be